We continue our story with Rayquaza and Beerus facing off in the sky, with both of them getting ready for what they believe is going to be the most intense battle of their lives, or at least in Rayquaza's case, the most intense battle of his life. But when we see the Z Fighters looking down, we do see 18 with her daughter Kyogre by her side, and I did change the sun to Groudon as it just honestly just made more sense than Salamence. So yeah, he's still kind of like a toddler, but again, he is kind of, he's still intelligent. To where Kyogre simply asks her mother, "Do you think Dad is going to lose?" To which 18 looks at her daughter, then looks at her husband in the sky, and she's like, your dad's been kind of on a win streak lately, and while, we can't sense this guy's key, I wouldn't put it past him for at least putting a good fight. To which Vegeta's like, dang it, that should have been me, not him. Beerus should be recognizing me. However, when the fight begins, Vegeta kind of feels like, dang, you know what, maybe I take it back. I actually don't want it to be me. And so Beerus throws the first attack. His cataclysmic orb, or cataclysm of destruction. And Rayquaza fires off a dragon pulse. And while it does take a little bit of effort from him to really push it back, he ultimately has the blast consume it and then detonate it, pretty much destroying it. With Beerus going, yes, very impressive. Your father honestly could destroy millions of them at once when he was the original god of destruction. It took me years to master that. To which Rayquaza says, okay, then treat me like I'm my father. How would you basically try to counter him? To which this is where Beerus says, well, you did ask for it, and makes hundreds of them. And to which Rayquaza's like, you know what? I kind of regret opening my mouth about this one. But you know what? I actually do have an idea. To which Piccolo, looking nervous, like the only way he's going to deflect that is with Twister. But if it goes everywhere, then everyone's going to be calling a blast. We're all going to die. What's he going to do? And this is where Rayquaza actually lets every blast come at him, but he makes sure he moves so fast that none of them touch him. And then utilizing Twister, he engulfs not only the many energy orbs, but engulfs Beerus around them. And Beerus looks at this, impressed. He says, very talented, utilizing your defensive move as a barrier, or at least as a container. But tell me, what are you going to do with all these blasts simply, eventually wear out? Or, I should say, what happens if your defenses wear out? To which Rayquaza says, no worries. He learned this from his brother-in-law. And to which 17 looks at him and says, go for it. Definitely want to see how we practice this, or pretty much see the fruits of their labor in action right here. So Rayquaza, still in the Twister, mind you, and maintaining it, launches a Draco Meteor downwards. Yeah, I know, absolutely insane. However, when it explodes, it goes into one cataclysmic orb, then another, and this causes a chain reaction, causing a massive explosion that even Beerus even freaks out about. Because again, this is now not only Rayquaza's power, but his own power collapsing all around him. And he pretty much yells out in pain. To which 18 is like, I'm guessing you two worked on that extensively. To which 17 is just like, yep. To which she says, they're impossible. To which Launch simply states, well, if you actually came by to see their training, you would actually be impressed by what they do. To which 18's like, you know what? I'll take you up on that. And so this is where, when the Twister pretty much settles, we see an angry and somewhat damaged Beerus. Because again, keep in mind, this was his own power basically exploding on him. Even if he was holding back, that's still a good amount of damage. So Beerus is angry, telling Rayquaza, how dare you. However, Rayquaza does not let up for an inch, showing again he's a lot more relentless than the other Z fighters, and fires off a dragon pulse. Beerus, literally seeing this, actually launches another cataclysmic orb right at him, and this causes another massive explosion. To which Beerus simply states, are you going to use the same tricks over and over again? Come on, try something new. However, this is where he actually groans in pain as Rayquaza simply, basically bull rushed and shoved his hand right into his corpse. Oh, sorry, not right into his corpse, right into his gut, I should say. Pretty much gutting him with a punch. He then utilizes Dragon Essence to drive Beerus right into the water, creating a massive explosion. And so, before Rayquaza can pretty much just come in with a Dragon Claw, Rayquaza's arm is grabbed by Beerus, and he simply says, now, you got vastly carried away. And this is where Beerus proceeds to beat Rayquaza down. However, Rayquaza is still able to evade most of the attacks, but it's a trying God of Destruction. Like, he's trying more than what he did with Super Saiyan 3 Goku and an enraged Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. So he's actually making sure that he beats down Rayquaza so he kind of get the point across. And so Rayquaza ultimately is left dangling in the air, and Beerus is just holding him, with him even stating, "Wow, that was exhilarating. You may not be your father, but you are definitely close. Perhaps one day you'll surpass me." And this is where he tosses him down, and 17 pretty much catches him, stating, "Well, I guess that means back to the drawing board for future outcomes with him." To which Rayquaza's like, well, while he knows he's probably not going to surpass him at any point, or at least not yet anyway, he does think training would be very optimal at the moment. However, this is where everyone catches the key of someone else arriving, that being Goku. Just like in the original, Goku arrives and, well, Beerus still wants the Super Saiyan God. Keep in mind, he is in a much better mood than in canon. This is because, one, Boo's not here, so nobody's trying to eat all that good pudding. And number two, this ain't Xenoverse, so obviously ain't no ball gonna hit him in the face. And number three, this ain't Xenoverse 2, so ain't nobody interfering with the fight. But nevertheless, they actually do the Super Saiyan God ritual. However, Rayquaza offers something else and actually tells Goku to step aside for a bit and actually let Vegeta be the one to take the Super Saiyan God power. And this is where Vegeta looks at him like, what do you mean by that? Well, why do I have to take it? To which this is where Rayquaza puts it plain and simple. You've been standing there quiet and scared for the majority of the time Beerus has been here. So, Rayquaza simply puts it, you have to earn your place. Besides, you wouldn't want Goku to be the strongest Saiyan in the universe, right? To which Vegeta's like, what? I know you're playing me, but oh my gosh. Yeah, hurry up and just give me the God power. So, with that being said here, this would actually be our first debut of not Super Saiyan God Goku, but Super Saiyan God Vegeta. And he's the one that steps up to Beerus. And again, I do think it is I think it would be better for Vegeta in all honesty, as this would not only prove himself to be, well, not like his father, which was a coward, but to honestly be, kind of get a little bit more spotlight than he honestly should have gotten. More spotlight, which is what he should have gotten in all honesty. But with that being said, Vegeta's skill and battle IQ, plus the Super Saiyan God energy he has, actually makes him a decent challenge for Beerus. I'll probably say just as decent, if not a little bit more decent than Goku. Because again, he is a much more talented and a much better strategic fighter than Goku. And we also get the debut of Super Saiyan God Final Flash. So with that being said, everything kind of goes on the same. Goku and Vegeta find their ways to go train on Beerus's planet. However, Beerus actually offers Rayquaza to train there. He hasn't seen what a Vestroian or Draconian can actually do when they learn about their true potential. And so, Rayquaza actually trains with Beerus, while Goku and Vegeta do train with Whis. Now, you might be saying, oh, you're going to give him like the God of Destruction key? No, I'm going to give him something entirely different that's kind of more akin to him. But Rayquaza does manage to get a handle of God Ki, and he even brings his daughter to come and train. And this is kind of getting her into fighting because she is just around the same age as Trunks and Goten. So she actually enjoys it, but she doesn't really get God Ki, but she does get her own form of a bluish dragon key, if you will. And he also incorporates 17 into their training. So while 17, on the days that he's not busy, or the days that Goten and Trunks take over his, ranger job, he actually comes to Beerus' planet along with Launch here to actually train. But this does mean, with 4 of them on that planet, or at least 5 of them, this does mean that the Z fighters aren't really, or the main powerhouses aren't around during Resurrection of F. But someone else is, that being Gohan. Gohan has kept up with his training at this point. While, he never gotten the Supreme Kai's mystic power-up and stuff like that, because the Z-Sword was never broken yet. But Gohan, has been keeping up with his training, and his Super Saiyan 2 is basically ultra mastered at this point. So not only does he put up a good fight against Frieza, but he pushes Frieza to the point where Frieza actually does have to transform into his final form in order to even, overpower Gohan even a little. And as they're clashing with a collision of Kamehameha and Death Ball, this is where Goku, Vegeta, Rayquaza, and 17, along with Kyogre, also appear. So because Gohan's power level is more stable, and it's a lot more powerful than before, they would get there a lot quicker during the clash. Meaning that Goku honestly could just key push the blast out of the way, or key push the death ball out of the way. And so, after a good rock, paper, scissors, Goku's going to be the one to fight Frieza in, just like in the original. While Rayquaza keeps a very close eye on the rest of the Frieza army that wasn't killed, or, kind of just remaining right now, because I do think Frieza would have still powered up just to annihilate his own army. Why do people still work for this man? Like, how do you kill your own army, and yet people still work for you? What kind of benefits do you have, my mans? But this is actually where it's different. Because Goku has had 4 high-level training partners, he's stronger in this timeline. Meaning, Frieza's golden form is like barely, and I mean barely, matching Super Saiyan Blue Goku. And believe it or not, it gets worse when Goku realizes the stamina drain. Keep in mind, he's stronger, he's a lot faster, and he's a lot more tuned in with his senses thanks to his training. This means that Goku not only picks up on the ki drain or the stamina drain from Frieza's form a lot faster, but he exploits it faster as well. Meaning that, Goku beats Frieza pretty handily. Now, sure, he does pull up that bluff that it was a good fight, but again, when Goku realizes that stamina drain is there, he starts whooping out Frieza. And this is where Frieza realizes that even with all that training, it meant nothing. And so this is where he looks at Sorbet far earlier in the original, and he tries to give Sorbet the hint that he can use his ring. And so Sorbet is about to fire his ring, right? But Rayquaza comes down from the top rope with a hyper beam at point blank range. We already know good and well he wasn't beating those allegations in Pokemon, so he ain't beating it here either. So with that being said, Sorbet is just straight up erased right then and there. However, Frieza still manages to destroy Earth because of Goku's good nature. As soon as Goku powers down, bam, Frieza destroys the planet. And in this timeline, it does kill Goku because his guard was down and, Earth is destroyed. But Whis does manage to save everybody that was near him, including Vegeta, 17, and Rayquaza. So this is where Whis gives them one more chance. And he looks at Vegeta. Finish it. Don't hesitate. Don't monologue. Don't do anything you Saiyans normally do because of your pride. You finish it right here and right now. To which Rayquaza and 17 look at Vegeta and is like, yeah, just go ahead and do it. So when they rewind time, Vegeta tells Kakarot to get out of the way. And this is where Vegeta launches a super Gallic gun at Frieza and just straight up annihilates him. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Cooking him right then and there. With Vegeta going, yes! Yes, finally. Finally, I put that lizard scumbag in the dirt. To which Goku's like, Vegeta, why? I had it. I was going to let him go. And to which Rayquaza looks at 17 and is like, this dude is unbearably naive sometimes. And 17's like, well, I mean, it's not too late to fulfill my programming. And he kind of, kind of joking about that, to which Rayquaza kind of looks at him like, don't make me kill you. And they both kind of just laugh about it. However, this actually isn't where we end off our story. No. You see, everything with the Universe 6 part does happen like in the original. Beerus and Champa meet, brotherly love and brotherly beef, all a kind. And keep in mind, Beerus is a bit better in this timeline. He's a bit more well-trained. But this is where the Universe 6 stuff happens, right? And the team in this timeline is vastly different, with it being Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, a much stronger Piccolo, mind you, Rayquaza, and Android 17. And that's where we're going to leave it off here, you guys. What's going to happen in the Universe 6 tournament? Do they pretty much win in a landslide? And what's going to happen in the Goku Black Arc? Or, you know what? Nah, I'm going to leave that as a surprise for what's to come. But that's going to be all today, you guys, and you have a blessed day.